In November 1807, something extraordinary happened. The Portuguese royal family didn't just flee their country, they moved an entire monarchy across the Atlantic to their colony, Brazil. At the time, Napoleon Bonaparte was sweeping across Europe, and Portugal was next in line. Facing invasion, the Portuguese regent John VI of Portugal, ruling on behalf of his mentally unwell mother, Queen Maria I, made a bold decision: abandon Lisbon and relocate the royal court to Rio de Janeiro. When the court arrived, Rio de Janeiro was not originally the main capital of colonial Brazil. That role had been held by Salvador, but it quickly became the political center of power. At the time, Rio still lacked proper infrastructure and organization, but John VI began transforming the city, building institutions, improving administration, and most importantly, opening Brazil's ports to global trade. For the first time, Brazil was no longer restricted to trading only with Portugal. This single move began shifting Brazil from a colony into something much more independent. By 1815, with Napoleon defeated, the situation in Europe had stabilized. But instead of returning immediately to Portugal, John elevated Brazil's status. He declared the creation of the United Kingdom of Portugal, Brazil, and the Algarves. Brazil was no longer officially a colony, it was now a kingdom on equal footing with Portugal. However, this arrangement caused tension. Both Portugal and Brazil wanted the king present. Political pressure grew, especially in Portugal, while liberals demanded reforms and the king's return. In 1821, John VI finally went back to Portugal, but he left his son behind in Brazil, Pedro I of Brazil. This decision would change history. Soon after, the Portuguese government attempted to roll Brazil back into colonial status, but Pedro refused. On September 7, 1822, he made his legendary declaration, "Independence or Death." With that, Brazil broke away from Portugal and became the Empire of Brazil, with Pedro I as its first emperor. Pedro I secured independence, but his rule was far from stable. He faced political opposition, economic troubles, and criticism for being born in Portugal. Many Brazilians questioned his loyalty. His personal life also damaged his reputation. By 1831, facing growing unrest, Pedro I abdicated the throne in favor of his young son, Pedro II of Brazil, who was only 5 years old. Pedro II would go on to become one of Brazil's most respected rulers. His reign lasted nearly 6 decades and is often seen as a period of stability, economic growth, and cultural development. Under him, Brazil expanded its infrastructure, education, and international presence. However, challenges remained, especially slavery. In the 1860s, Brazil became involved in the Paraguayan War alongside Argentina and Uruguay against Paraguay. Although Brazil and its allies won, the war had major consequences. Soldiers who returned gained respect and influence. The military became more politically powerful, and enslaved people who fought were granted freedom. This fueled growing anti slavery movements across Brazil. By 1888, slavery was officially abolished under Pedro II's daughter, Princess Isabella. While this was a major step forward, it also angered powerful plantation owners who had relied on enslaved labor. By the late 1880s, the empire was losing support. The military was becoming more assertive, The elites were unhappy after abolition. Pedro II himself had grown tired of ruling and spent long periods abroad. In 1889, the army staged a coup. When it happened, Pedro II wasn't even in the capital, he was about 40 miles away. By the time he returned, the monarchy had already been overthrown. Brazil was now a republic, the United States of Brazil. Pedro II accepted his fate calmly. According to reports, he said, "If it is so, it will be my retirement. I have worked too hard and I am tired. I will go rest then." Shortly after, he and his family were sent into exile. And just like that, the Empire of Brazil came to an end. From a fleeing monarchy in 1807 to a powerful and stable empire to a sudden military coup in 1889, Brazil's imperial era lasted less than a century, but it shaped the nation in lasting ways.